VADIS Aida, directed by Jasmila Žbanić. This is going to be our first ever BHFF award for outstanding achievement to the Bosnian-Herzegovinian cinema more broadly, and we cannot think of a more deserving person to achieve this award. First, we're going to watch her incredible film, and then we're going to invite her on stage to receive the award and then have a conversation with her.
So please make sure you stick around for that. And if you haven't seen the film, and I imagine that many of you haven't, you're in for something very special. So we'll see you after the film. And thank you.
As I said, they have been issued an ultimatum. Aircrafts are on standby and ready to launch an attack on all positions held by the Republika Srpska army.
Evo nas 11. jula 1995. godine u srpskoj Srebrenici. Poklanjamo srpskom narodu ovaj grad.
Ljudi, baza je puna. Niko više ne može ući u bazu. Svidio moj. Darik, svidio moj.
Nema potrebe da gineš. Ni vaš muž, ni vaša braća, ni vaši komšije. Idite uniform.
Smo civili.
Pa s kim ratujemo 4 godine, jebem vam, majku vam jebem. S kim? Sve civili.
Za vaš opstanak tražim da svi vaši muškarci pod oružjem predaju oružje vojsci Republike Srpske.
Kad smo preživjeli 3 godine rata, preživjet ćemo i ovo.
Samo bez panike i propustite malu djecu i žene.
Tu je sve plan napravio davno.
Ljudi idu tamo gdje je bezbjedno, to smo se dogovorili. Zeiden dat we de cijfers niet moesten opnaaien.
Start leaving the base in an orderly fashion.
What is the point of having an ultimatum if you don't deliver?
Vesle, možeš mi povesti moje sinove iz baze?
Aida ubiće i Srbija koji nađu. Ubiće i mene.
Colonel Karamans, they are killing people outside. What difference does it make whether the Serbs kill us or you do?
Thank you for staying on. After such an experience of watching this film, we have to start by acknowledging emotions. But we also do want to say, and we announced this during our award ceremony just before the screening, that Jasmila Žbanić, the director of this incredible film, is our first ever recipient of BHFF award for an outstanding contribution to the Bosnian-Herzegovinian cinema. I want to say that without a doubt, she is one of the most exciting voices in world cinema, period, not just Bosnian cinema or regional cinema. And I also want to emphasize the fact that she's one of the most incredible voices in women's cinema as a woman filmmaker in the world today. She's a, thank you. She's an incredibly multifaceted director, also screenwriter and producer, born in Sarajevo. She graduated from the Academy of Performing Arts in Sarajevo, lived there through the war. In 1997, along with her friends, she founded Artists Association de Blokada, which is still active today, as her production company alongside her partner Damir Ibrahimović, who I believe is with us here tonight and is the producer of the film we just saw. Jasmila's early documentaries already set the tone for the kind of work she will be doing for what is now decades to come. Films like Red Rubber Boots and Images from the Corner. A major new voice. She established themes that would preoccupy her work to this day, war and its aftermath, unspeakable trauma, and giving voice to the voiceless. I know that sometimes that sounds like an empty phrase, but when you watch her films, you get the sense of the empathy and of the sheer desire to convey the stories that otherwise may appear unthinkable. It's an ethical and moral stance that she takes, film in and film out. Just to mention a couple of things, her first feature narrative film, Grbavica, in 2006, opened at the Berlinale, Berlin Film Festival, and already won the Golden Bear, the main award at the festival, is including numerous other awards. And it happened to be the very first film, regional film, after the Yugoslav wars to address the war crime of mass rape. And my colleague Amir will continue with some of the accolades of Jasmila's work.
So on the path, Jasmila's second feature was distributed in 25 countries and won numerous awards. The title of her incredible 2011 film, For Those Who Can Tell No Tales, can be seen as a fitting summary of her cinematic work more broadly. Besides many awards that Jasmila received for her professional work, she also received one of the most prestigious European cultural awards, Kairos, in 2014. Jasmila's last film, Quo Vadis, Aida, about the Srebrenica genocide, which we just saw, won the Audience Award at the 50th International Film Festival in Rotterdam, the Best International Film Award at the 2021 Gothenburg Film Festival, entered into the 77th Venice International Film Festival, and also won the Best International Film Award at the 36th Independent Spirit Award. Furthermore, it was nominated for 2 BAFTA awards, Best Film Not in the English Language and Best Director, as well as for Best International Feature at the 93rd Academy Awards. At the 34th European Film Awards held in December 2021, Quo Vadis, Aida won the award for Best Film. Also, Jasmila won the award for Best Director and Jasna Đuričić for Best Actress. We are incredibly honored to host Jasmila at the festival and present her with BHFF's first ever award for an outstanding contribution to Bosnian-Herzegovinian cinema.
Like we said, before we invite you to the stage, we couldn't think of a more deserving person to be the very first recipient of this award. Jasmila, please join us to the stage and accept the award.
Thanks a lot. I'm really honored, and thank you very much for inviting me and making this incredible night. I'm more used to fight and not receive awards, but because we live in Bosnia, where it's very tough to make movies. I wanted to become directress when I was 9. My parents didn't understand what I was talking about. They told me to have proper job, but on the other hand, they always supported me in what I thought is my vision or mission or whatever. On a way to make films, I met incredible people, because filmmaking is not individual work. It's a huge, huge team that has to be with you. Damir Ibrahimović, producer of all films, I don't know, Izudin Bajrović and other actors who are here. We are making all of this together, so it's their achievement as well. And yeah, what else I can say? I would love to hear your thoughts after watching film, or your questions. Thanks a lot.
Jasmila, thank you again for being here and sharing your film with us and the audiences at BHFF. We talked about how to start after something like this, but Srebrenica genocide is an incredibly difficult topic and challenging topic to tackle through film, and carrying immense creative risks and many other risks. And to start at the start, so to say, when the film opens, one of the first things that we see is we realize that this was an international co-production of enormous proportion, because I was trying to count the countries and I didn't get
9.
Didn't get exactly. Can you tell us about this process? You've just said that it's difficult to make a film in a place like Bosnia. Can you tell us about the journey of this film?
So the system in Europe is a little bit different than in US. We have state funds, and we have to submit script. If jury likes it, we get some money. In Bosnia, we managed to get some 5% of the whole budget, and then we were forced to go to European countries to get other funds. At the end, Bosnia gave like 12%, but we had to wait for French Film Fund, German Film Fund, and it took a lot of time to do this process, and also to persuade them that this is a European subject, that it's not only Bosnian history, that it is relevant for them as well. So luckily they gave us, but it was always a little bit, and that's why we had to have 9 countries in the whole process.
How many years did it take, really, from the start to get to the finish line, so to say?
Yeah, it was some 7 years ago, I would say. I'm looking for Damir to confirm. The first idea that we want to do this film was very honest, but on the other hand, we were very much afraid that this film is not possible to make, because film about genocide, what we analyzed, it's very, very hard to because it's such a big subject. It's hard to make one person's story. That was something I was struggling for many years, how to write it and then how to present it. Many producers said, who would come to cinema to watch this film? I mean, why would we give money to this film? But at the end, after 7 years, we managed to do that.
And quite well, if I may.
And once you did, what a journey, if I do have to say. It's been 2 years now. Is this mic on? Can you hear me? Oh, good. Thank you. We've talked about this. You and I have had public conversations about that, and I'm trying to avoid some of the questions I've asked you before. But I did acknowledge in our earlier conversations the weight of the world you carried with you while you were making this film. This is still an open wound in Bosnia, in the region, and pressures were coming from all sides. And you were adamant about, while staying true to the facts of the event and studying documents, to also maintain your artistic vision, your own independence, if you will. So you created a fictional character, Aida. She's not based in any real existing character. And it was important for you to have a woman be the protagonist. Tell us why. Why was that important?
Yeah, so it started, first of all, I wanted to talk about Srebrenica, but also to see what is relevant for us today. And I felt that there is a lot of danger in right-wing movements in Europe. When Srebrenica happened, in Europe, there were not such a strong right-wing movements, fascist movements. It was something which we heard about, but it wasn't like that. I was always thinking, if Europe stopped Srebrenica, if Srebrenica didn't happen, if the Bosnian War was stopped long before Srebrenica and genocide were executed, Europe would look different, and our world would look different today. So these were thoughts that made me really want to make this film, because I thought it's not only about us, it is about Europe. And it's sad to say now, look, with Russia, the one fascism was encouraged by the other, and it just grows and grows. So
you asked me about the origin, why woman. At the beginning I had several ideas how to tell the story. One very interesting thing is the political aspect of who was not answering, who was making this and that decision. So I thought maybe political thriller would be very interesting. At least I was, when I was researching, it was amazing what happened behind the scenes. And but then I thought I want to be close to people, and I want audience to be very close to people who are surviving it for 100 minutes. They are there. That was my aim. And then I thought, okay, mother who has to rescue her kids is something that everybody will understand, and that's how the story started. It was very difficult for me to write a script, how to write the beginning of the script, how to have people who don't know anything about Srebrenica, about Bosnia, understand who is who and what is UN and what was the mission of UN. I had a lot of versions of the script, and sometimes I would share it with some people and they would say, yeah, but we don't know who is who, why they are chased, what is going on. This was for me very, very hard task to do.
Can you speak a little bit about the cast? Because you have an incredible ensemble from across the region here, and not just across the region, even international cast here. Can you speak a little bit about this process of casting this film?
Yes, so Damir and I worked with Jasna Đuričić, who is playing Aida. We, from very beginning, said, this is Jasna, Aida is Jasna, there is nobody else who can do it. It was very hard for us to, how should I say, my first film, Grbavica, was also a film that had a lot of controversy in our region. It was about raped women, and when we received award at Berlinale, Serbian media wrote that it's a film against Serbs, that it's that my main actress Mirjana Karanović from that movie, who is Serbian and lives in Belgrade, that she's a traitor of Serbian people, that she should never work in Serbia. So it was hard for us to offer this script, which is even more dangerous, to Jasna Đuričić, who lives in Novi Sad in Serbia. We didn't know if she would, because she knows very well what happened with Mirjana Karanović and how bad it was, and she had really threats, and very, very bad period for Mirjana was there. Jasna Đuričić and also Boris Isaković, who is playing Mladić, they are people who not only accepted to play in a film, but they accepted to play a huge role in changing the minds of people in Serbia. Because it's this is not the reason why we choose them. They are best actors for these roles, for sure, but just how, everything is so politicized in Balkans. When you offer actor a script, this one is like you are offering them a bomb. So it's not easy for them. But we were so happy that they decided to do this film. We had to work a little bit undercover. We didn't want to anybody to know that we are filming, and nobody was giving interviews. We were really trying that the film is not captured by politicians and turned into something or used or misused, whatever. So it was it was a process how to wait until a moment when people have a chance to see the film and decide for themselves.
And some of the relationships that we see on screen are also relationships in real life. For example, Izudin Bajrović, who plays Aida's husband, his son actually plays his son also on the screen. Did that come about during the casting, or was that something that you kind of put in the script already early on?
No, I mean, the family was in the script, but then when we were casting Dino Bajro, which was really so sweet and amazing, and it's a person that I thought it would be so good for a son, and it happened to be Izudin's son in real life, and it was very emotional for them to play in a movie.
You shot this film in the sweltering months during the pandemic. Am I correct? With the pandemic was going on. This was in the middle of the pandemic.
Pandemic was, luckily for us, it was in the last week of editing. It was interesting in 2019 when we shot it. All 9 co-producers that I mentioned were sitting and deciding, shall we film? We still didn't have enough money to have full green light to film it, but Damir said, the producer said, let's do it because we feel we are ready, even if we don't have the full amount. And it was so great that we did it, that we listened to his instincts, because we finished everything in December 2019, and then we started editing, and then it was COVID, because this kind of film with thousands of extras is not possible to do anymore.
And then the rollout of the film, I think you mentioned this to me earlier. What was really important to you was, first of all, that it be shown at Potočari and that it be shown to young people in Bosnia. Tell us more about that. Why young people? Why that target audience, first and foremost?
Yeah. So when we presented the film at Venice Film Festival, we asked press office if there are any Serbian journalists there, because we didn't know if there will be provocations for Jasna and Boris. It was very tense situation because of COVID. There were and rules that we have to stay 15 days in quarantine. No Serbian journalist was in Venice, and immediately after film was screened, there was a review in Serbian papers that film is terrible, that it's against Serbs, that it's pure propaganda. It was so awful, and that Jasna and Boris are traitors and all of that. And person that was interviewed for this review, like to confirm everything, was a war criminal, charged war criminal in Den Haag, Šljivančanin. And that's when I understood, okay, this is what they are doing. So this war criminal is putting his guilt on everybody with Serbian name, saying you are all guilty for what I've done. And I thought it's so mean. So I decided to make, because, if you answer or make any kind of answer to these media, it's nonsense. You can't do that, because they are just manipulating your words and stuff. So I thought the best would be that we organize a premiere for people who are born after 95. So there is no way they're guilty. They were not even born. And we organize screening for young people from Serbia, from Croatia, from Bosnia. And somehow this message communicated with, especially with young people in the region, because they felt, I'm not blaming anybody. I'm saying you have to emancipate from these narratives. These narratives are blocking you and putting you in certain, drawers. You are Serb, you have to think like that. No, on the contrary. So this worked well, and we had a lot of support later from Serbian media who were not Vučić, which means very few, but very good support, interviews and good reviews, and people saw the film. I got really wonderful reactions from Serbia as well.
You mentioned earlier working with extras, and some of these scenes are really kind of immense when we look at them, and you had a lot of extras there. Who were they, and how did they inform the actual filming process, and especially working with the actors?
Yeah, extras were chosen from Stolac and Mostar where we were shooting because we were not allowed to film in Srebrenica. The mayor of Srebrenica denies that genocide ever happened, so we couldn't do that there. And extras were from that area. I was really picking up every face, every photo, because I like people's faces, and I knew it was very important for the visuals to film faces. So we had these people, and in one moment we realized that a lot of people have experience of being in a concentration camp, or, you know, having, they were not from Srebrenica, but they were in war and they had bad experiences. So we had this truthfulness for actors. They said that the extras were their acting partner. For Dutch actors, they said it's amazing, you know, when you look at these people, you understand how these guys were lost and why they couldn't do anything. And yeah, sometimes, you know, there was a 40 Celsius degrees. It's I don't know how much is it in Fahrenheit.
Like 96.
It was so hot, and people were, you know, collapsing, and we had emergency cases. But actors would, you know, do something and maybe miss the line, or we have to repeat. And instead of being pissed, you know, like we were standing here for hours, extras would applaud them and, you know, encourage them, because they thought this is more than a movie. It's something they really wanted to say.
You know, Jasmila wants to hear from you more in our pre-event conversation. She really wants to hear from the audience. But one last thing I just really wanted to touch upon is the fact that you insisted on having some of these, well, I don't know how many, but at least the most, in a way, harrowing sequence in the film be improvised in a way, where Aida goes to identify the remains. But also the fact, and this is something that I talk to my students who have seen the film and we've been studying and talking about it, not show graphically the mass murders and death, not make the mass death and that suffering into a spectacle, because in a way that can also only be shown from the point of view of the perpetrator. The victims, the dead ones, cannot witness their own death. So tell us a little bit about that, because just at least that improvised scene of the actress not knowing where the remains were. So she just walked around and had to eventually find them. And then we will turn it over to the audience.
First of all, decision not to show explicit scenes of dead people is coming from several sources. One is that I survived war in Sarajevo, and I never seen anything spectacular or you know, I couldn't direct a scene of the war or death people that I would say, you know, that I would use aesthetics in it in a way that many war films are using. I thought it's better for audience to imagine, because they are creative to imagine, and it's also kind of keeping a dignity of these people who died, because their members are still alive and they will watch it in cinema. So that was a decision from beginning. And actually, war for me is this scene where a woman is lying down and soldiers are stealing her property. For me, that's an image of the war, not tanks and killings, but war is for me about stealing. Every war, the nationality or religion or whatever, democracy, bringing democracy to some countries is just excuse for stealing. And about the scene you ask, we decided when we put these bones that we will not say to Jasna where bones are. So when she enters this space, she will be like any other mother, just, searching. And first shot was this shot in a movie, because we thought, okay, that's it. She was so shocked to see these remains that that was what she thought and what I thought is, that's it. That's a scene.
We can turn it over to the audience. If anyone has a question, please raise a hand, and one of the ushers is going to bring the microphone to you.
Thank you. So you mentioned earlier the criticism that you got from the Serbian press, Serbian government. What do you think it would take, and how long do you think it will take for the general Serbian population or critics who don't acknowledge the genocide to acknowledge these events? And how do you think a process like that could occur?
Politics in Serbia is, the power of the government is still based on war agendas. That's a root of it. If that changes, a lot of things will change. It's coming from the top. A few days ago, I had talk with one Serbian journalist who says it's time for this film to be shown, because we never screened it in Serbia. No festival, no cinema was brave enough to show it. We just had, streaming platform where people from Serbia can watch it. And we are talking how it's time to show it for July 11th when it's anniversary. But he said, we have to talk to Vučić if he will allow it. There is no way, and this is the reality of Serbia, that, festivals or TV stations would, I'm talking about public TV stations, private can do other stuff, but to show this film without his permission. That's why I'm saying it's coming from the top. Unfortunately, this top is still very much the program or the aim of Vučić is still the same aim like in '92, to take part of Bosnia, to eliminate Muslims and others.
I think there was another question here, or first up there, yeah.
Is it on? Okay. Thank you so much. I would like just to congratulate. I think it's a wonderful movie, and I think also it's an art piece. It's very well done. And I have two questions. One is, if you can say a few words about what surprised you the most when you were doing the research for this film. And the other is more to like a formal question. If you can say a little bit more about the rhythm, how do you came in the editing to this wonderful rhythm that I think has such an emotional effect? Thank you.
Thank you. So about the rhythm, we have, I was working with wonderful editor, Jaroslav Kaminski. He did Cold War and Aida. We had, from beginning, it was clear that it has to be very suspenseful, and that Aida is running all the time. Jasna, actress, she was joking, I didn't know this is an action movie. I should have gone to gym more often, because it was a lot of running. And Jaroslav Kaminski had his assistant who would assemble scenes, and we would be able to watch them every day and, understand how it works and adjust or make changes and stuff like that. In one moment, Jaroslav told me, look, you don't have any scene where she is just sitting. in order to establish the rhythm, there has to be not always running, but she has to be calm to understand that it will go on. And then we had to reshoot 2 scenes where she's doing nothing. That was not in the script. It was really from the editor's perspective. I need this for the rhythm. So that's bit of it. Of course, sound and music is very important for the movie. I was sure I will not use music, but at the end I decided, because I didn't want to have music manipulating emotions. I wanted to do everything without. But then in one moment I thought I would love to have music, not to support emotions, but to give other meaning to certain scenes. Like after her sons are dead and we go to Srebrenica, I have to show that time passed and so many layers were in it. Also, about the sound, I love to work on sounds a lot, and we were inventing a lot of stuff, like where in scenes where we see a lot of extras, a lot of Srebrenica people, we would have one track which is ocean or bees, or what is there to give this specific vibration to the scenes. What was first question? Sorry.
But what surprised you in the research for the film?
Oh yeah, I thought, as a Bosnian who always listened to or read news, that I knew a lot about Srebrenica, but actually I was really knowing this little when I started digging and going into it. That was the first thing that really surprised me. And of course, you are always surprised that there are that life goes on. Like people are, women have a baby in the middle of nightmare and things like that. That I didn't know, for example, that detail. I was told by survivors.
Thank you for the wonderful movie. First of all, I have 2 questions also right here. The Serbian general, is that a fictional or real character? If it was fictional, who was it based on? And second question,
very real.
Second question I have is, making this movie, what movies informed you or helped you or influenced you making this movie? Movies maybe you watched as a child or a young adult? Thank you.
Thank you. So it's a real character, General Ratko Mladic. We found a lot of footage from the war, from actual negotiations and footage of him going around refugees, giving chocolates. And decision was to really not change much of his dialogue. So most of his dialogue is transcript. If you go to YouTube and put Ratko Mladic Srebrenica, you will recognize these scenes. The reason why we wanted to keep it almost in a documentary way, it's not 100%, of course, because it's a fictional film, but it's a fact that he is celebrated. He's a war criminal. He got life sentence. He will die in jail. But a lot of people in Serbia are celebrating him as a hero. And they're calling, the Srebrenica genocide, liberation of Srebrenica. So there are big fights. When Diana mentioned, it's a very hot subject. It's a subject where we still fight what happened. So we decided to keep this very truthful parts of his behavior and his dialogues and stuff, so that people in Serbia cannot say, "Oh, you invented something which didn't exist." They are watching him like he was, and this is directed decision to keep it like this. There are some other characters which are totally fictional, but Karamans, Franken, Ratko Mladic, they are real people that life of so many people depend on their decisions.
The second part of the question was what other films inspired you? Yeah.
Yeah, we analyzed, I mean, when I say we, as I mentioned earlier, it's a team. It's not one person, but our, producer and DOP, we analyzed a lot of war films, of course. I mean, Schindler's List helped us a lot with finding solutions for mass scenes, because you have feeling in Schindler's List, you are always watching a lot of people, but actually it was such a smartly directed that you have some obstacles and there are just few people, but you still think it's thousands. So we learned that, and this is how we did our mass scenes. Like when you see buses, there is nobody behind buses. We are just moving people around so that they can fit. Of course, like I was watching Claire Denis, then Apocalypse Now, these films that we were analyzing. It's not that I thought I want to make this image or this scene like in those films, but I was analyzing a lot, and it's kind of a dialogue with these directors. I would let the film run, and I would say, Coppola, I have something like this. What do you think? How should I do it? You know, it's like a dialogue with when you watch the film. Not, I want to have this as a quote or something.
Hi, thank you so much. I've spent a lot of time in Srebrenica, and I think you were talking about sound, and it's probably the first time I've heard that much sound there. It's a place where you go, and aside from the July 11th commemoration, there's tremendous silence. And I wanted to ask, we've been talking a lot about genocide denial and narratives in Serbia, but what was it like to work with victims and survivors? I know Hasan Juhanovic's book is very important, and the times that I had been there, people feel very, very passionate about the narrative of what's happened and their stories. And what was it like for you to come there and talk about this and talk rooted in truth, but also then add the fictional components to it?
Look, I understood how much responsibility is in every detail I have to do. And I was really taking care of everything. But in one moment, I understood that survivors have their vision of what happened. For example, many of them told me that Dutch soldiers were mean and horrible to them. They were. But when I went to meet some of Dutch soldiers, I understood. I was in Amsterdam meeting some of them, and I understood they were 19. Some of them were 19 at that time. I have a daughter who is 21, and I'm thinking if she was there, of course, she would be completely lost. And what these boys and girls could do, nothing. I'm not talking about Karamans and Franken, who could do a lot. So I understood that because of the pain survivors have, it's hard for them to understand that it's not everything black and white. And that I had to fight for, my right to show the film the way I see it. I always told them I'm not able to make what to give to audience what you survive, because it's impossible. If I do 0.001 of what you survived, I would be very satisfied. So it was not easy. It was not easy. I knew that from beginning of my work. I did my diploma film about woman who is searching for mass graves, and when I showed this film to, it's called Red Rubber Boots. When I showed this film to audience, people are crying and they are devastated. But when I showed it to survivors, to this woman, she said, "Oh, you were not hard enough." because it's not possible to match their experience. And somehow I knew it, and I was able to understand that it will be tough for them. But now most of them I'm in very close contact and very good relations with mothers of Srebrenica and associations of Srebrenica women. They are very happy, grateful that film exists, so that film can travel, and it's not always them who have to tell this story all over again.
I think there was one up there, or...
There's a hand up in the back, here on the side. This
and here too.
Young lady here.
Okay.
We can go here and then there maybe.
So, one question about the ending of the film. You just told us about the mayor of Srebrenica, who was a denier, a genocide denier. Yet we have Aida going back to the town where she lost everything, where she probably still has many unresolved questions about what she did while she was there. Many Bosnians left the country. They're doing the work that they're passionate about somewhere else in the world. Or they're doing it in different towns in Bosnia, not necessarily the towns where they spent their life or, where they were hurt. So what about this ending? She's going right back into the hornet's nest, teaching the children of those who did so much harm. Is that aspirational? What are you telling us with that ending?
First of all, the fact that we live with people who committed crimes, that's our everyday reality, that there are people in the government who are still supporting criminals, who are celebrating them. I wanted to show how difficult life is. It's not only in Srebrenica, but everywhere, as you know. So this is something where I thought, when we learn about peace, or at least when I learned about peace in school, you think, okay, peace comes and then everything is wonderful. Criminals are in jail and life goes on. Sometimes for me, the peace is harder than war because it's so complicated and justice is not there and you're so frustrated with what's going on. So this is what I wanted to show, that she goes there because she says, I have nothing else to lose, so I'm there. And maybe with the little things that she's teaching, she can change something. But I'm finishing with these kids who are opening and closing their eyes, because if new generation keeps closing eyes, then we will just be in a vicious circle. If people open eyes, then something can change. And that, again, when I show the film to young generation, this is my aim, where a young generation should understand they should not be prisoners of narratives, of old patriarchal narratives that country is completely
choking on.
So that was all of this I wanted to put at this end. And of course this face of Jasna and Aida, who is, she says everything with her face.
And I think what's also important to point out is in that final recitals, in the audience, the parents in the audience are a mix of survivors and perpetrators, which is often the case, not just in Srebrenica, but in many towns, sitting side by side, and their children are in school together. And Aida is their teacher now, and they're opening and closing the eyes, which is such an incredibly simple and symbolic act. Which one will you choose? So kind of putting the onus on and hope on the future generations, but not being entirely sure. That's at least my read of it. And that final shot of her basically breaking the fourth wall is just incredible, because she's charging us with that mandate. Which one will you choose, this or that? But there were other hands over there. Yes.
My question is more of in the beginning when you were writing the script. Obviously, being Bosnian, you're writing a traumatic Bosnian story. It hits close to home. What kind of, I guess, did anything, any personal obstacles come up in the writing of the story, and how did you kind of, I don't know, not put to the side, but work through it in order to do justice to the story? I'd love to hear you talk about that.
I mean, I was writing versions and versions, and then I went to Berlin, where I kind of felt I have a distance to what is there. That distance was helpful, I must say, psychologically, because when I'm in Bosnia, it's everyday political troubles and economic and many, conflict and energy, and just being somewhere which is not your country helped me to see story from a distance, and this distance helps. And at the same time, I had to go through every emotion, and I had to be Aida for all these years, but keeping a distance at the same time is also very important. Does that answer your question? Or
yeah, definitely.
This is something which it's a process. It's a really long process of how to deal with it. And every time I felt I am at the end of my powers, I can't do this anymore, it's too hard, I would look at mothers of Srebrenica, and they lost, really, I met women who lost 60 members of their family, like all male, 3 generations of male cousins and sons, and everybody's gone. And then I would think, I mean, I am complaining because it's hard for me to write, and they have energy to go on with life and talk about amazing things, because they are such incredible women. I was working with one organization in trying to nominate them for Nobel Peace Prize, because if anybody in this world deserves this, it's them. If you imagine that after war, all these thousands of women would say, let's revenge, we would still have war. And they had all rights to say it. I have to tell you, because they were so brutally, their lives were so brutally destroyed. But they didn't say it. They said, we have to live together. The war criminals have to go to jail. We will work on it. There are many situations where they would come to testify and they would be humiliated. They would go to Srebrenica. Kids would throw stones at them. There were so many obstacles in their lives. And then when I think of them, I think, okay, come on. I mean, shut up and work.
I think we have a question for one more. We have time for one more question. And there was a person out here.
There's a couple, maybe quick ones.
Okay. Thank you again, Jasmila, for making this film. I was wondering, we talked a little bit about the scene at the end with the opening and closing, and I was wondering if that has any parallels to the scene with the best hairstyle competition, sort of, because you have these incredible shots of people's faces and it's just very still. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about those scenes and how you came up with them, because much of the movie is during Srebrenica, the events happening, and these are sort of the pre and post moments. So thank you.
From beginning, I thought I would love to work with human faces, and I love human faces, and that's something where I'm using in a lot of films, and to stress them out, to show all things that you can tell in different way on them. And I thought, that's why I said I really handpicked every face from extras, because it's very important for me how they look. And we did this New Year's Eve hair competition as a first day of the shooting. We filmed this dance, and in one moment I told them, now do it, but look at the camera. And we tried different stuff, you know, to make it slow-mo and this. And when they looked at the camera, we behind the screens, we really froze. We thought, wow, this is it. This is what we wanted to say. We know these people will be killed soon, or some of them are already killed. And they are there like ghosts, but they are still human. And that opened the rest of the style for the film. So we repeated several times.
And one final question. There was another young lady, I believe. Yes, go ahead. There's a mic coming up. Samantha.
First of all, thank you for this incredible movie. I'm more interested in the ending. I understood the symbolism with the hands and the children. And actor Emir, who we all know more of as a comedy actor, it was hard watching him in this profile. I feel like I saw a facial gesture in that part when he's looking at his son, Nikola. Was that supposed to also show maybe some kind of recognition or some kind of symbolism there? It was like a very slight moment where he kind of just stared at his son on the stage.
Yeah, that was what what I directed, what I agreed with Emir, that we will have a slight moment of his inner dialogue with himself. Many of war criminals don't have that. They don't have regret. They don't have this inner dialogue. But we thought the little moment of it, as a sign that it's possible, that there is a little bit of humanity in him, we will do. And we did it really, really small and slight. I'm so happy you notice it.
Good eye. On that note, and I just want to return to one thing you said in one of your interviews. Many interviews you've done about this film. Someone asked you, I think in a Bosnian outlet, is this a feminist film? And you answered with, all of my films are feminist. And I think that's a nice ending point, and we can have our audience think about in which ways it's feminist while also relevant, especially right now with what's going on. We talked about Ukraine in the earlier Q&A, right?
The thing is that, war is a peak of patriarchy. It's done by men and created by men and run by men, and that's how it is. So this is a story of a woman in that circumstances, and of course it has to be from woman perspective. It has to be feminist. And today, when you see how war in Ukraine develops, it's just patriarchal language. It's really like when you read how presidents treat, I'm not talking about Putin and Vladimir, I'm talking about Biden, about Olaf Scholz, about them. They are showing whose dick is bigger. That's all about it. No, I'm sorry to say, but there is no peace negotiations. Nobody's putting effort. Nobody's putting money in it. Everybody's putting money in weapons and killings. Of course, Ukraine has to defend themselves, and it's clear. But did you notice any peace effort, except funny Macron sitting 20 meters from Putin at the before? And we managed as human beings to stop virus in such a short amount of time. I mean, incredible human achievement, but we as human beings failed not stopping the war. I mean, now that war is on, it's disaster. It will last for years. But why we were not able to stop it? how we all, I'm in New York, all these amazing universities, all amazing intellectuals, and we didn't invent a way to stop the war.
I think this is a good note to end on. Thank you.
Thank you, Jasmila.
Thank you, Jasmila, and thank you all for coming and supporting this festival.
Thank you all for supporting us, and congratulations, Jasmila, once again for your outstanding achievement for BHFF and Bosnian-Herzegovinian cinema.
Thank you.
Thank you all for being here.